viewers, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're watching me from. I go by the name Precious Chesley P. And today we are live here in Megapoint, Torino, Italy. We are here on a program called Exclusive Charts. And with me here in the studio, we have a very important personality. A very, very important one for that matter. It goes by the name Martins Agbonlahor. Before I bring him, I would like to tell you more about him. He has written so many books, numerous volumes in the area of women's rights. He's a man that fights for the rights of women. We have somebody like him in this generation who can speak or stand for women's rights, that can talk. Hello viewers, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching me from. I go by the name Precious Chesley P. And today we are live here in Megapoint Studio, Torino, Italy. We are having a program called Exclusive Charts. And today here with me, I have a very important personality who goes by the name Martins Agbonlahor. But before I bring him in, I would like to tell you a little about him. Martins Agbonlahor is an author who has written numerous volumes in the area of women's rights, equality, and justice. He is here in Italy. He is a London-based, but we are opportune and privileged to have him right here with us. Stay tuned with me as I bring him in, Martins Agbonlahor. Good evening, sir.
Hello.
It's a privilege to be with you today. It's really an honor to have you here with me.
It's my pleasure. Yeah.
Wow. I know it has been a great and very, very stressful day, but
Yeah.
I know everything is okay. So with me here, I have most of your books here. And one goes by the name Decimating the Ghosts. And the other says, Killing Them Softly. But I have a few questions for you. Before I go to the question, I'd like to ask you questions about this Killing Them Softly. I'd like you to tell the viewers, what inspired you when you were writing these books, Killing Them Softly?
Well, basically, the book is talking about the fight for women's rights in Nigeria, because as you know, in Nigeria, because of our culture, our ancestral heritage, women, they are subjugated, their rights are not given to them. In fact, it was only of recent, maybe 50 or 60 years ago, so that women's suffrage was brought forth, that women's vote now count. So this book, in essence, is fighting for the liberation of women.
Okay. That is to say, fighting for the right of women, in essence, is it just basically Nigeria in particular or in the whole world?
No, this is
Nigeria
in
particular.
Nigeria.
Okay. And we have other one that says, Decimating the Ghosts. What do you have to say about
Yeah,
this?
I think it's part of this. Part of this is the.
They are both saying almost.
Exactly. This is the edition. This one, an old edition. This is a new edition.
Okay. This one is
the same book. Yeah.
This one is the
new one.
Okay.
Exactly.
As you can see, the book Killing Them Softly. So this book talks about the freedom of women. It talks about being liberated from slavery. So you can get the book for yourself. As you can see the name, Killing Them Softly. This is a new version of it. So before I bring in another question for Martins Agbonlahor, I want you to tell us challenges you have in writing this book. Were you facing any challenges, like maybe you were kind of stressed out, or maybe there are times you find difficulties in putting some things down?
Yeah.
What did you do?
All writers do. We're talking writer's block. Yeah, of course. Sometimes you feel writer's block, and the ideas, do not flow. Sometimes you give it time so that it will flow again. Of course, we suffer, but that doesn't mean we got to keep our fingers crossed. We know why we are writing these books, to enlighten people, to educate people, I'm a storyteller, to also let people hear my own story, So in spite of these hindrances, but we still get on with the writing.
Okay.
But all writers do face it. Challenges, yes, we do. Okay. Especially when they call writer's block, we really do.
Wow. Okay. So I have a few questions for you here. And my first question is, how do you do your researches for your stories you write in your novels? How do you do your researches? How do you go about them?
Well, that's a wonderful one, a wonderful question. Yes. You can get your ideas, from reading newspapers, from friends, from watching the television, from reading gossip columns, so you can get your inspiration or your ideas from everywhere, So there's a place I used to go, there's a bar that I used to go, and that bar is well noted for activities going on there, because there are, people you call criminals, people you call miscreants, they are all there, so much so that when I go there, maybe they are drinking and they are, I just buy a bottle of Coca-Cola, I've been taking it for 10,000 years. Yeah, indirectly eavesdropping on what they are discussing to enrich my novels, so much so that when I get home, my partner will be livid with anger. Say, "Hey, you going there? What are you doing there? You are not supposed to be there. These are people who are criminals. These are people who are drug addicts and things like that." But ironically, that is where you get your story from. That is where you get your story from. You see, that is the source of your story. You got to mix with these people. And now I'm writing about, for instance, the suffering in Nigeria. You are not expecting me to go to the British Parliament to get tips for my story. Yeah. Not at all. It is these places that you think that you are neglecting. That is where you get stories to enrich your novels. So these are the places I go.
Wow.
Exactly. You read newspapers, you watch the television to get tips. You read gossip columns. Also, visit people, just listen. Like this bar, it has provided me with a rich source of information, because they just discuss. While I listen, I eavesdrop on their conversation. I take it home to enrich my book.
Wow.
So you can get your ideas, everywhere to enrich your book. But talking of research, yes, I've done research for two books. Actual research, in the sense that I left my place of abode. You see, last year I went to Niger Republic, to a place called Agadez. There is the hub of the trafficking business. Smuggling of Malians, Nigerians, and the rest of them, to Libya and then abroad. That place is actually the hub. So what I saw, because of course you write good by what people tell you, but you write better by what you experience yourself. So I've actually experienced this thing, and that's my new book coming up. I call it Death in the Sahara, or A Desert of Bones. So what actually happened there, you see, most of these girls smuggled through those routes in Agadez. The boys doing the smuggling, they call them connection men.
In Agadez?
Yes, in Agadez, quote and end quote, connection men. The function of this connection men is just to impregnate these young girls as young as 16. And these young girls, they are impregnated and they are left in the streets. They are wallowing in poverty, they are wallowing in disease, they are wallowing in faith. This is total research. This is not hearsay. This is facts, not alternative facts, as Trump would say, or synthetic truth. No, this is real fact, because I was there, and that's what I've written about. This book is going to be out by June. Do watch out for it. It's built on research. So in other words, the question was, how do I build my research?
Yeah.
By listening to people, by reading newspaper, and sometimes by traveling out. Sometimes I really want to travel out and see it myself, because I happen to be a journalist as well. So that's how I get my information to enrich my books.
Oh wow! Oh wow! That's so great. There is a saying that says traveling is part of education.
Certainly.
I think you've heard that. So in any area you find yourself, make sure you pick something positive out of it. Take something good out of it and make something out of what you've seen. As you've heard, that's where most of the places you get his researches from. There is something you can really express when you don't experience something. You can't express it.
Experience is the
but
best
when you experience it, you've seen it yourself. You know how it is. You know you felt pain. You've seen the pain of people. That's what is explaining.
Okay.
So now we are going to the next question. Apart from the books you write, fighting for women's rights and all that, is there any other thing is there any other books you write? Is there any, do you write things about love, romance, like stuff like that? Sorry to ask this question,
romance.
But we have to ask.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
It's
so we know
it's a
what
style.
we're expecting
It's a genre. Yeah, people write romance. Yeah, but I think it would be good for you to go and ask my partner if I'm good at romance.
Oh my God! So we are going to put our on call
exactly.
now.
It's not as good at romance at all, and he will tell you. But anyway, you know my genre.
Yeah.
What I write is social fiction. You see, I take devices in our society, I take them, build my characters, and through my characters, we preach righteousness. That is what I write, social fiction, okay? Of course, I'm not trying to denigrate people who write for love and romance. That is their style, but that is not my style. My style, what I write, is social fiction. But again, I don't want to I don't want my readers to be taken away from what I write, because I'm a storyteller. I'm here to tell my story to my readers. I want them to be seduced, if you like, hypnotized, if you like. You see, I want them to love my story. I want my story to be very, very captivating, to be endearing, so that when they grab my book, they don't throw it away. So I don't inject anything to dissuade or to remove the eye of the reader from my work. That is not my genre. Romance is not my genre. My genre is social fiction. But this is not to denigrate those who write who write romance. Yeah, it's also very, very good. But people do write it, but that is not my style. And when I write my books, I don't inject anything that will make the reader say, oh, well, I've had enough. No, I'm a storyteller. I'm an entertainer. My function is to hold my readers' attention to my book so that they will enjoy it to the end and they buy more. I even recommend my books. That is what I do. So to answer your question, I don't write a romance. You would have asked my partner anyway.
you don't write love. So we've heard from the horse's mouth. Yeah, so he doesn't write love and romance. He's in for human rights. I mean, women especially.
Certainly.
He's fighting for our rights. He's fighting for us to leave that slavery. You know, in our culture in Nigeria, they say women don't have certain rights to do certain things, and he is here in our generation to liberate us from those slavery. I call them slavery because in the Western world, there are things that are happening back in Africa that does not exist in the Western world. So we are going back to our third question with Martins Agbonlahor. I hope you guys are following us. So the third question I want to ask, if you're writing, is there any time you take a decision to, like, let me just put a stop to it? Like, okay, this is enough. For now, okay. I have to
Maybe you are saying pause. How many pages will you write and say you've had enough?
Yes. Like, do you have a constant how do I put it? Is there any time you like, okay, this is the pages, or this is the page I want to have, or I want to have this page, or this, just some stuff like that. You know, at times when you're writing, like, okay, I want to have like 30 pages, I want to have like 20 pages, like, you know, at times then when you start writing, it will just like the inspiration is coming more. So when you find yourself like that, is it like you have to pause and have other title for such thing, or you have to continue? Because you know, most times when such thing occurs, at times you just like put everything together. So what's the process like if you find yourself in such situation? How do you go about it?
I know what you're talking about. Just give up. That's it. Give up in the sense that there is no complete book. To me, I don't believe this. You say complete book. There's a man they call Gabriel Garcia Marquez who wrote 100 Years of Solitude. May so rest in peace. He's dead now. He said that he would have even wanted to write 200 or 300 years of solitude because he had more to write. You know, so sometimes you just give up. You just keep writing and writing. You don't know where to stop until you just, okay, now I've had enough. Because like I do, sometimes I use my pen to kill some of my characters. You know, and when you hear kill, it's what you're going to kill. No. With my pen, you know, literally speaking. I just kill.
Like this is
exactly to make it flow. You understand? So sometimes when you come to write and you get inspiration to write, sometimes you don't know when to end. But if this story flows in logical sequence and is, you know, good, then you just end it up. Remember, if you are writing, your novel should be good to you, should be sweet, should be nice to you, the writer, before you serve it. It's just like cooking food. If you're cooking jollof rice, for instance, and you taste it, it is palatable, it is decent in your mouth, then you know that your customers will also cherish or savor the dish. You see, that is the same thing with novel writing. You, the writer, you should be content and say, okay, what I've written is actually very good. I've got the message, I've got the plot, the setting, everything is okay. You know, then of course I serve it to the public. But when do I know where to stop? I don't know when to stop until I just give up. I say, okay, I've had enough. Let me stop here. That's what we do, because there's no complete book. That is the issue at stake. This book now, if you give me some time, let's now say, because I also juggle work, because I'm a researcher, I also work, you know. If it's okay, don't work for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I'm going to pay you. Add to this, more will come. So, yeah, exactly. So when you feel you've written it, it's nice, the characters is well laid out, the setting is fine, the plot is fine, you just end it and that's it.
Okay, wow. Nice one. And I also like to ask, what was your writing process like?
That's a $1 million question.
We want to know.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm a longhand writer. Very, very laborious, very, very difficult. You know, John Le Carre is also dead now. He's a longhand writer. He's one of my heroes. It's very, very, very difficult. What do I call longhand writing? Now you take a pen and a paper. I brought it. Oh, okay. I brought a paper. I was writing in the airport. I just write with pen and paper. Just write. So when I come back home, I come and reread them again, rewrite them again by hand, before I begin to type them. So it's very, very laborious, very, very difficult, very, very tasking. You see. But the fact is that when you are not transferring what you've written by hand to the computer, you've done your editing and proofreading. That is why if you see most of my work, you hardly find errors. Why? Because during the process of writing by hand and transferring to the computer, doing it by hand, I have already corrected. Exactly, I've already corrected what is wrong, put it back. But there's no perfect book anyway. You know, you must still find some, because you need 4 pairs of eyes to write or maybe read books. Sometimes you still find error. But the errors I have in my book, I would say, you know, I don't want to blow my trumpet. They are infinitesimal or negligible because I've done the editing previously. Okay. And what was your question, madam?
I said, what's your writing process?
Now I will come to my writing process now. Okay. Very, very good. Now I have a large room I've dedicated to myself for my work. You know, my library, a very large room. You know, there I have my books, and that's where I write. As I begin to write, of course, I switch off my television, you know, my telephone. I take them off the hook, everything, total silence, so that I'm able to get inspiration. And then I begin to visualize about my mother. My mother is late now, but I love her so, so very, very much. Because when I was a child, at 6 years old then, my mother noticed that I used to scribble endlessly on paper, 6 years old. And even when I was young, I think a year or 2 years old, they told me that I used to use my teeth I used to chew the spine of my sister's books. It was then my mother noticed that this one is going to be a writer. So for her to have predicted what I'm going to be and what I've been now, for her to have predicted it so right, I used to give her that honor. So during my writing process, I visualize, call on her ghost, to lead me in this intellectual voyage that I'm going to start now. And I pour libation of gin to her memory. I pour libation of gin to her memory. Then I sit down and begin to see this inspiration come. Sometimes they come in torrents, like an avalanche. They really come so much so that I just pick up my pen and begin to write. Of course, you also have writer's block along the way, but you begin to write. So that is where I get my inspiration. But I want to beg your viewers, don't denigrate my process. Most Christians will say, is it now that you see pouring wine to your ancestors? Yes, I do. That is how I get mine. That is how I get my inspiration. That is my writing process. After doing this one, then I bring up my papers and I begin to write. And of course, there are notable writers who also get their writing process through what we call weird ways of doing it. Okay. For instance, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, when he wrote his book, 100 Years of Solitude, he was driving in Mexico. He was driving to Acapulco with the family on holiday to go and have fun around, you know. Then the inspiration just came. Then he turned his car back and he showed the wife, said, darling, I'm not going anymore. I've got inspiration. I'm going to write this book now. I just got inspiration, so we're not driving. I'm not going anymore. I'm going to buy something that is going to elevate my spirit, that is going to elevate my creativity. What did he do? I hate to talk about it, but I don't smoke. He went to a tobacconist and bought 10 pack of cigarettes. 1 pack is 20. 10 pack will be 200. Yeah, 200. Yeah. He took them home, locked himself. He said, smoked till he got his inspiration. And in 6 months, that book was done. That book won him the Nobel Prize. And we talk about James Joyce. James Joyce was the Irish writer who wrote The Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. He wrote it. Now, how does he get his inspiration? He will go to a pub, a bar, and drink, get drunk, totally drunk, dead drunk, inebriated, so much so that he will be, falling along the alleyways. People will be dragging him. This, the wife knows him. They will say, leave him, he will be all right. And when he gets home, soaked and totally drunk, get himself locked and write bestsellers. Isabel Allende, the woman who wrote The House of Spirits, she has her own as well. What does she do? She goes to her underground. Wow. She has a room there she calls Caseta. She's Spanish. Caseta, he calls that room. And there are different spirits. He worships these spirits before he starts writing. So let not my own be something like, say, this one is boring. Yes, I do. But that is my that's how I get my inspiration. Okay? I get it in memory of my mother. I pour libation to my mother. I call her name, and inspiration actually comes. That's how I write my book. Anytime I want to write a new book, I just lock myself. I call my mother. Pour kola nut, pour libation, call her name, and he really gives me because he loved me. He predicted my life. I was 1 year old, eating through the spine of my sister's book when he said, Mona, this one is going to be a writer, and this is me today. So why not give that honor? You give honor to whom honor is due. Her ghost is due honor, so I give that honor. That's how I get my inspiration. And that is my writing process. Are you satisfied, madam?
This is wonderful. Oh my God. Are you trying to tell us that your inspiration is coming from your late mother's spirit also?
That's it. Always. Because he guides me. He guides me. So when it comes to, because I'm doing what he liked, what he predicted, he must guide me. I'm not going playing football or in a bar. What I just pick my pen. That's okay. I want to start this video. This is a new book. After this book now, I'm at last going to write romance. Yes!
Oh my God.
So let's see what my mother is going to talk about romance, Yeah, my book, I'm giving it away now. Don't steal it and go and write it at your own book. No. After this book, the next book I'm going to write is, you see, I'm a social crusader. I'm a social critic. The kind of books I write, it's not a book you read and be laughing and be smiling. It weighs on you. It tells you to do something about the ugly situation that this gentleman is writing about. I'm going to write, I must go to Tanzania for this one. I'm going to write about the albinos, the way they kill albinos, you know albinos, the way they kill them in Tanzania, thinking that when you kill them, you get money from them. They use them for money rituals.
Wow.
So I'm going there to investigate this and write about it. Exactly.
Oh wow.
So that when you read it, you see criminality, cruelty that is being done against a fellow human being. Because if you look at it critically, there is no white race, there is no black race, there is no white race. We just have one race, and that is the human race. So why can't we come together as one? So that is the kind of thing I write, and I don't have any apologies for it. This is my genre. This is what I write. My writing weighs on you. You're not going to read my book and be laughing. The book I wrote, Another Poor Cow. Now I've got readers in the U.S. till today. They are still telling me that, Martin, they are unable to take on out of their minds. That because they never knew that there is this maltreatment, ill treatment of women in Nigeria, because they are in a different world. And for that reason, they had to attach themselves to women's rights groups. I'm telling you the truth. They have letters they're writing to me. I said they really enjoy this book. They've not seen a book like, they never knew that this thing was existing. So my book will really tell on you. It will strike in your conscience and say, do something. That is the kind of book I write. And that is my writing process I just enumerated now.
Oh, wow. That's great. And I saw something in your book yesterday, and it was talking about naming names of Africa, how our parents give names to children, and the meaning. Most of them, they give name to children based on
that is true.
The things that happen.
That is true.
At that process.
That is true. That is true.
So you know the era we are now is the era that we are Christians, and now we give biblical names. So what are you going to say about that? Is it still advisable for mothers or children or youth of these days to do such thing? Because to me, I feel you give your children a biblical name that will bring glory and that will give them virtue tomorrow in life. Not, for example, I saw something like this on Naiwu and a Deki, something like that. Names like that. What do you have to say about that? Is it still, are you going against it, or you are not?
But giving biblical names, giving biblical names doesn't have anything to do with virtues. When our father, when we were living, our great-grandfather, they were virtuous, even more than most of these prophets in the Bible. Because they actually called us and said, this child should be called Idiakosa, or this child is going to be called Egenara Hiori, or this child is going to be called Okomose. And if you look at it, the child was born in 1967 or 1966 during the Biafra-Nigeria War. Okomose, our names have a lot of meaning. So you general, with all due respect, madam, you generalize when you say, now that we are all Christians, what do we? I'm an Ogun worshipper. I'm an Ogun worshipper, and I don't have no apologies for that. I'm a proud Ogun worshipper, and my family is also worship Ogun. We've given our lives to Ogun. We worship Ogun. Ogun always hates me, So you can't expect to give my name Peter, for instance. No, they bear a name dedicated to Ogun. You just respect people's rights. We have the right to freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, etc., etc. If you've chosen Christianity for you, I don't want it. I've chosen Ogun for me. That's my ancestral worship, and I love it. I'm not dead. I'm still okay. So I think I support giving names, but of course, you also have middle names now. Idiakosa is my name. Idiakosa Loboa, but I have a middle name as Martin. So all of us, I think you must have a Benin name, except you don't want that one again. Then you put a Precious P, like
Precious
you said.
Chesley P.
That P must be more sound.
P must be there.
If you had that P, you just started.
P must be there.
It must be there.
If you edit that P, I will take it. Oh wow!
Exactly.
Oh my God!
So I think time has come, especially for we Nigerians. Time has come. Let the scale fall from our eyes, and we should realize that people have their own ways of life. People have the right to worship or to take the religion of their choice. As people say, you are still worshiping God at this modern time. That is my choice. Don't just let it worry you. Just don't do you. Just let me do my own. That is it. Okay. Exactly. If you go to Europe now, you see what's happening now. People are gay, and you respect them. You can't say this one is gay. It's not my friend. You go in for it, especially in Great Britain. if you want to discriminate against gay, you just go in jail for it. Because he has the right. You have the right. You have your own right. You do your own. I hope you understand this. If you ask.
Hope you guys understand him. So at times chips him being like, okay. So he's trying to say freedom, we have freedom of speech, so you are free to choose where you belong. If you want to be a Christian, if you want to be an idol worshiper, you are free to do what you want to do. It's a free world, it's a free life. So the choice is yours.
That's true.
Would you serve God or you serve idol? So we'll leave that question for you viewers. And our last question for Mr. Martins Agbonlahor before we leave the stage. Okay. So I would like you to tell us, the young youths, people that have that would like to become a writer tomorrow, what advice will you give to them? What do you have to give them out there?
Exactly. Well, first of all, they have to have flair for writing. You know.
That's zeal.
That zeal has to be there. Exactly, it has to be there.
That passion.
Exactly, that's it. And if they have it, they just continue to write. You know, they write and submit to people like us or to others to see what they've written. You know, they just continue to write. You know, monetary thing. They should forget about money. You are not going to say that now I want to build 4-bedroom flat in this city. I have to write a book now. No. Because that hope of you really making it and getting money to buy a house because you've written a book is infinitesimal. It's negligible. It doesn't even materialize. But I'm saying this, I'm not a damper to enjoyment anyway. I'm not trying to denigrate people or trying to dissuade people from writing. If you write, there are people, they just write the Facebook and they make money out of it. Glory be to God for them. It's also very, very good. But one thing is that don't let it be your major aim. Write, be happy with what you do. Write and
passion.
And expect people to look at your book, also praise you, also critique you, and be ready for rejection. Because they can reject your book when you submit it. You have to rewrite again. All writers, they sometimes reject our work. They will continue to write. Don't be dissuaded by rejection. Continue to write. And don't let money be the first thing. I want to make money now. No. If you open a shop where you sell cola nuts, maybe you make money. But when it comes to book, you might write 10 books and you don't make any money out of it. But the passion should be there. Continue to write. Just continue to write. That's it. Don't give up. Okay. And you eventually get there.
Okay, we have come to the end of this program, Exclusive Chats. We've heard from the horse's mouths our guests today, Mr. Martins Agbonlahor. So he says, as a young man, a young woman, or a young adult, you have the passion for writing books. You want to be a writer. First of all, you don't have to be distracted by anything because rejection will come your way.
Yeah, of course.
Many things will come to pull you down. They will reject your books. And don't write because of money.
The money will not come.
Don't write because of money. Let the passion be there.
That's good.
Be happy or be prayerful that when you're writing it, anyone that is reading your book, that they will be transformed through what you put down. That should be your number one aim, and not money. Remember, money is not everything. So it has been a very, very, very great time with you, Mr. Martins Agbonlahor. I'm really, really privileged to have you here with me.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
I would also love to have you next time. I believe this is not the last time we'll meet. So by the grace of God, I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. So viewers all over the world, we have come to the end of this program. I just wish you enjoyed the chat. It was not a long one though, but I pray you pick something from it and benefits something from Mr. Martins Agbonlahor. Remain blessed and let the will of God be done in your life. Have a nice day and have a lovely week. Bye.